Hi, everyone, and welcome to Truth Camp. I'm your host, Crystal Giznichek, with my co-host and wife, Sarah. We believe that there is something you can learn from everyone and want to help share these truths to help inspire and motivate. Thank you for spending time with us today. Now let's get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Truth Camp. I'm here with my wife, Sarah, and Leigha Pasco of Soul Train Animal Care. And Leigha is an animal care and connection coach. And I'm going to send it over to her to kind of just say what that is or what that means to her.
Yes. So I own Soul Train Animal Care. So I often say that I train souls of all sorts. So what that means, what I mean by all sorts is I work with both humans and animals. What I mean by soul training is that I train as in teaching new skills, new behaviors through guidance, through practice, over a period of time. When I mean soul, I mean like the emotional, the intellectual energy of humans and animals. So essentially teaching new habits, new behaviors on an energetic and emotional level, so a real deep neurological level that applies to both animals and humans.
I love that. And I think one of the first things I've said to you before about whenever I realized you are an animal trainer is that you are training essentially humans how to cope or deal with animal behaviors that they might not want in their home.
Absolutely, because most of it is understanding where that behavior is coming from. And then you're right, like a lot of it is, the human has to make changes, it's not necessarily what the animal's doing. An animal's being an animal, being a dog, it's just living in the life that you put it in. It's usually the things that we have to change, that we have to work on, that will change the animal's behavior. They're just a product of their environment, if that makes sense.
I would like to just be inside people's heads where you're like, in the most polite way, like you're the fucking problem.
Literally, yes. It's a lot of that. Yeah, it took me a lot of because I got into this also just thinking okay, I'm going to train dogs, right? And then you get there and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This is a lot of human work, a lot of person-on-person work. I'm mostly teaching humans. I'm mostly coaching humans, just teaching them how brains work, which human brains work very similarly to dog brains. That's why this all goes together. But yeah, it's all the human work, and you kind of have to learn how to say that politely. Politely.
You and I had the discussion, was it a couple weeks ago, and I was like, what do you mean you can't just send your dog away and they come back and they're perfect?
Yes, all the board and train. I mean, there's a time and there's a place for board and train especially, but it takes a lot of work. If you want to kick something off with a board and train, I feel that, but you're not just going to get a dog back that behaves well. Training is all relationship. Each dog will act differently depending on which person they're interacting with. So a dog might act wonderfully with a trainer that trained it at the board and train, but unless they take a lot of time, several weeks, to implement what the dog learned and teach you how to work the dog necessarily, if that makes sense, it's not going to stick, within 3 months.
How do you do that with people? At your house, do you have people always come with you? What is kind of how you have your service set up?
I do a mashup of stuff. So how this all got started was house call grooming. I was going door to door I was called Clean Beans Animal Grooming at that time. Yeah. I love that. That's cleaning the beans. So I did mostly anxious, aggressive, ill animals that couldn't really travel to a standard salon setting. So I started out just going door to door. Everything I did was house call based. And then things got very booked up, and then in addition to some health issues that I was going through. So now I'll do some house call. Usually the first session that we do will be house call, but a lot of it is at a home shop location that I have, a converted garage space that we work out of, and I also do some online content. So group classes online, Zoom sessions, phone conversations, stuff like that. Because, you know, you wouldn't think that you could train a dog over Zoom, but when you're working mostly with the human's behavior, you can get a lot accomplished just by talking to the human.
That's cool. I know. Butter.
He's trying to pick a spot here.
There you go. That's a good spot. So what are some of the common, I guess, things that you might see that, like, you've seen over time with some people that you've had to help with?
Like over and over again.
Yeah.
The same problems that come up over and over and over again, you know, jumping, potty training, boundary issues, you know. Generally, people say, my dog doesn't listen to me. My dog doesn't do what I want my dog to do. You know, and it's basic stuff. They don't poop where you want them to poop. They don't, you know, they don't sit where you want them to sit. Like, just the little daily things. It really repeats over and over and over again.
What about mangling couches?
Yes, that too. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Yep.
I laugh because at the corner of my eye, I'm watching
Dave's like,
yeah, let me go ahead.
my list of my dog issues.
I have bought 4 couches, and I thought we were over it, and now this one.
Oh, yeah. Nope, we work on that. Dogs eating things you don't want to eat. Yep.
I'm just going to buy concrete furniture.
Yeah, well, I mean, there you go. And then you don't even have to work on the problem, right? Like, hey, but if I were to talk to you about that, I would tell you that the first step is controlling the environment, you know? If a dog eats your couch over and over and over again, it's going to keep eating your couch over and over and over again until you do something different, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, concrete furniture would do it, I imagine. But you could start maybe by, you know, just like not leaving them with the couch when they could eat it.
Or, you know, let them eat the couch.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
But they're escape artists. I gave them their own bedroom. They figured out how to get
They're
out.
like, no, we need to.
I put them in the garage. Now I have to actually put the garage door. I have to put like something in front of the garage door because they figured out how to get out of there.
Animals, above anything else, are resourceful. Where there is a will, there is a way.
I just say, just let them up. Fuck it. Let them run wild.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what, like, today I did, because I was like, it's too cold for them to be in the garage, so we're just going to take the chance. And sometimes they don't eat a couch. Sometimes they eat a whole couch.
Situational.
Now, have you ever had a situation where you feel like, okay, so have you ever had this situation when, if and when you have, how have you handled it? Like a dog and a person are not a match. Like this person might really love their dog, want this dog, but just not a match.
Yes, I think that's more and more common these days too, because people get dog breeds that they really like the idea of, you know, they like how pretty they are, they like what they see on TV, but maybe their lifestyle was not a good match for that dog, you know, like all these shepherds, Australian shepherds, German shepherds, anything like that is a working line breed.
Yeah, when I looked at you, I was like, told her, I was like, watch this. And I said to you, I was like, what do you think of Belgian Malinois?
Yeah, because that movie's coming out, and so that's been a hot topic recently. Yeah, and stuff like that happens. We see animals on TV that we're like, oh my God, I want one of those. And, you know, in the past, just, you know, plenty of people wanted dogs like that, but they weren't accessible. These days, they're accessible. We can mass produce anything. So a lot of people end up with dogs that aren't necessarily a good fit for them, and they didn't realize that until afterwards.
So you're saying people should research their
yes,
dogs
above anything else, research your dog. It's really quite simple these days. A good Google search will tell you how much your dog's supposed to be moving, what you're going to need to provide the dog, and then being realistic with yourself. You know, just because you want to do those things, just because you want to walk twice a day, you want to have a consistent life, you want to be able to do that routine, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be able to change all that for a dog. And
which you and I had a really good conversation, and this was something that I definitely wanted to talk about today. Is we were talking about breeding, being, you know, the adopt, don't shop, and being involved in rescue as well. You know, we kind of straddle the line here where we have to remember the importance of a good ethical breeder.  And, you know, we're not saying that all breeders are bad. it's just your backyard breeder that's like, oh, this dog's cute and this dog's cute, and we have no fucking idea what we're doing, but we're going to mix together a working dog and a, you know,
something fluffy.
Yes.
Anything that ends in oodle.
Fluffy, and it's going to be really cute, but
it's going to be hypoallergenic. It's going to be adorable. It's going to have one blue eye, and you're going to pay a lot of money for it.
And you're going to have lots of problems.
You're going to have a lot of behavior problems. You're going to have a lot of just genetic issues. But yeah, I get the concept of adopt, don't shop. Like, believe me, I do. I worked at humane societies and with rescues for a long time. I've done the dirty work. I've been in it, and I get the point. But at the same time, you won't have individual dog breeds if you don't have breeders, right? Like, they will all become a mix of shelter mutts, which, okay, we could have that, but we did spend thousands and thousands of existence creating these dogs that were made to do specific things. We've genetically altered them to do what they're supposed to do, and if we don't have breeders that are doing it ethically, you know? And when I say ethical, I don't mean breeding one purebred dog with another purebred dog. I mean taking into consideration health, genetics, having dogs genetically tested, and really behavior stuff too. You know, before we did not breed dogs that were not biddable, as in, you know, willing to work for you, wanting to do the job that they had. Dogs that wanted to do the jobs, dogs that were easily potty trained. You know, we bred all of those things into dogs, and in the past, I don't know, not even 30 years, we've really undone a lot of that. And so people will come to me and say, like, this dog is like no dog I've ever had before. You know, like, my grandma had dogs, I had dogs, I've had so many dogs, and this dog is different, man. And it really is.
Because your dog's simple.
Yeah, like, it wasn't bred with ethics in mind. It wasn't bred with behavior and intent, really. It was bred mostly for looks.
I think a lot of people don't think about that, though, that dogs were made for tasks.
We've literally lost that concept.
Yeah.
If you have a dog, it was bred to do a job. You know, yes, we have mutts out there, but they're a mix of everything that we created. Either way, they have tendencies that we made, and that's just their operating system, you know?
What breeds do you find more challenging for people, like, in general, that
like,
come to you?
Like I said, a working line, if you're not working that job. You know, like German Shepherds, you see them on TV for police officers doing sniff work and anything, really. You know, those dogs are bred to work over 8-hour shifts. So
when those dogs aren't getting
when they're not getting that, any dog like that, shepherds, any kind of shepherd, huskies, you know, the dogs that have high energy tend to be beautiful, and we think that we want them. But yeah, those are the breeds that people have most issues with, because they're not compatible with most people's daily lifestyles.
Or my other personal favorite is the people that get the hound dogs around here, which I know, like, they won't get hound dog, go coon hunting, which is fucking stupid. But you know, then
their bark.
This beagle doesn't perform. This beagle didn't do
loud.
what it's supposed to do. Well, you didn't train it. You
you didn't train
what
it.
Were you thinking?
Yeah.
Or like that
genetics come a certain
bloodhound.
way, and let me tell you, a dog that was bred to do the job, like genetically bred to do the job that it is to do, will do it pretty well naturally. You know, they have a good foundation. There's a reason we took so much time to do that. So, like, yeah, you're gonna have good luck with a beagle learning to hunt, you know, because they were bred to do that. But you can't just be like, here you are, do your job. It's all going to be dependent too on what you're teaching, you know. It gives them, the genetics are a step in whatever direction, just like humans, but it really matters what you do on a daily basis, whether you're going to get the result that you want.
Yeah, I think the training aspect is gone totally to the wayside of things. Like, I mean, us include, like, I don't give a shit what my dog does. Like, just don't get me in legal trouble. Like, listen when I call you, but it's not like how, you know, like your dogs, they're trained.
Yes.
Until you call them to come forward. And I'm sure it's different per each person. Like, I'm sure you're like, what are your expectations
that
of your dog?
is what is so important to me. All my training is 100% custom. I don't do like 2, 4, 6, 8 week programs. Same thing, same dog gets the same tools. We don't do that. But I think everybody's different with what they expect out of their animals, you know? Like, you let your dog jump all over you, whatever. That's not my business as long as it's not a problem to you, you know? It really just depends on the person. I think that people have an idea in their heads of what dog training is and what a trained dog looks like. You know, they might think that dog training is okay. Dogs that look like my dogs that 100% come when called. They sit, they down, they can drill through things like that. That's not all dog training. You know, dog training is the interactions you have with your dog every day on I'm going to say like a do, as needed basis, just as it comes to you. Having a trained dog could just be, okay, I want to train my dog to not jump on people when they come in. You know, it doesn't have to be a perfect patio dog that you can go sit at brunch with, under the table. Like, you can get a dog trainer to help you through the things that are just real life struggles for you. You know, you can get a dog trainer to train your dog to go outside to use the bathroom and not on your carpet, even if it's 8 years old. Like, a dog trainer can help you with those kind of things. Jumping, with resource guarding, with anxiety. If you have an anxious dog, get a dog trainer. Like, that's what they're for. But I think a lot of people have the picture in their head of like these drills and like military dog trainers and police dogs and like all this snappy stuff, and they go, well, my dog doesn't need to do that, and I don't need to pay the money for all of that, and that's a lot of time and that's a lot of work, and it is, but you don't have to do that.
That's a really good point, because I definitely do think people are like, I don't want, like, I've actually had people say, I don't want to send my dog to training or have my dog train because I like my dog's personality.
Yeah.
I just wish they didn't do A, B, C, D.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, that's dog training. If you're working
on a couch.
Yeah, I love my dog. I love everything they do, but oh my gosh, if they could just not eat my couch, well then just get some advice on how to stop your dog from eating your couch, because you can totally do that. I will also say, to counter that, resources like that are very hard to find in our area, because I'm from here too, this local Ohio Valley area. There's only a handful of trainers around here, and not many of them do consultations on an as needed basis for custom care. Like, I honestly can't think of anybody off the top of my head in the area that does this. That's why I got into this, honestly. Is because
you're one of the only people I think I've known that does not just like military or like.
Yeah, because there's some police dog trainers in the area, and some people who've learned like through going to Petco and stuff like that. Like, everybody gets a different avenue, but they're mostly doing either board and train programs, or that, like I said, like those 2, 4, 6, 8 week puppy classes or group classes, that kind of thing. There's not a lot of one-on-one training in this area.
So how did you, I know you said you started out going house to house, but how did you get involved and know this is like what you wanted to do?
Well, I have always worked with animals and animal handling. I was a 4-H kid. So by the age of like 14, well, I was showing animals before then, rabbits, chickens, goats. By the age of like 14, I was helping teach other people animal care classes and handling and whatnot. I started volunteering at rescues and shelters in the area once I graduated high school and went to college. Then I actually got a job at the Humane Society in this area. It's like a Humane Society, a clinic, and like a shelter all in one. So I got to hang out there for a couple years and really was like, okay, like, this is what I need to be doing, working with animals, at least, like, I have no doubt that this is where I need to be. I learned a lot there. I learned so much there about myself just from observing the animals. I took care of all the animals that were, unadoptable. So anybody who was on like a hold, or anybody who was sick, everybody in the back that wasn't on the adoption floor yet. So
in that special little
in that little category of like, we came in, but we're not quite ready to have a home yet. So learned a lot about what animals needed to thrive and what they needed to heal. And in return, that taught me a lot about what I needed to do to thrive and to heal, because our needs are so similar to theirs. They're different, but so similar to each other. So I learned a lot there, got really good with working with anxious, aggressive animals, because a lot of animals that come into the humane society are not very happy. They've been displaced from their homes, or they're sick, or they've come off the streets. So I got very comfortable working with the not so friendly animals. So I took those skills and started that business I was talking about, Clean Beans Animal Grooming, where I went door to door and did that. And that's how I did mostly, like I said, the aggressive, anxious animals, the ones that were kind of booted out from other salons, the ones that were aggressive toenail trims and like, maybe don't come back. Don't bring this one back here. Or maybe ask your vet for some meds for this one before you try that again. So I was doing all those animals that are around. And that's where I kind of figured out how animal neurology works, like why they were so upset about being groomed or why they were anxious, and then working through how to back that up, how to rewire that. In the beginning, I just did some personal research. I learned a lot about energy work. I went and got my certification in like Reiki. So I'm a Reiki practitioner. And I started dabbling in dog training because I realized, I'm taking these dogs that are aggressive, want to eat your face off if you want to trim their toenails or their hair or anything. Like, everybody's seen dogs like that. And building new associations and getting them comfortable. And I didn't realize that I was training them at that moment. I was just like, I'm just a dog groomer that does bad dogs. And I make them not bad. I don't know how I do it. I just did it. So then I was like, okay, maybe I should look into this a bit more. And I went and got certified with a dog training course and was like, yes, this is what I'm doing. These are the techniques. So I'm like, I'm learning so much more. I wanted to hire a trainer for my own dogs, and that sparked a lot of growth too in our department, because me and my boyfriend moved into with each other. We each have 2 dogs, so together that's 4 dogs. He has 2 shepherds. He was one of those people maybe should not have gotten a German shepherd.
They're so pretty.
You learn from experience. I'm not above anybody here. We were there. That's why I do what I do. We had these 4 dogs, a pity mix, a beagle, and 2 shepherds. So noisy, anxious, and resource guarding, so I was like, what did I get myself into? I'm losing my mind trying to keep everybody calm here. I tried to look for an animal trainer because I'm like, okay, I got the basic stuff. I can do grooming and whatnot, but I don't, how do I do house manners? How do I keep them from jumping over everybody and screaming every time we walk out the door from separation anxiety and putting their paws up on the counter and eating loaves of bread, that kind of stuff. We were dealing with that left and right, and I couldn't find anybody. We went to some classes for 6 weeks with a friend that I have that's a trainer, and that was wonderful. But when you go to group classes, you're working on things like leash manners and being around other dogs. You're not necessarily working on eating loaves of bread off of the counter and screaming when your owner walks outside the door. You're barking at the lawnmower, things like that. So I'm like, what can I get to get somebody here? And I did actually convince her, because she's a friend of mine, to come in and check out my situation. But she doesn't do that. A lot of people aren't comfortable going into people's homes. That's another thing I think that keeps trainers from doing that. They don't feel comfortable going in house to house. So I got her to come, and I was like, oh my gosh, she just gave me the most simple tricks that I never would have thought of. I remember 3 things, maybe put some cookie sheets on the counter so they don't feel tempted to put their paws up there for a while. Things like that I was like, mind blown. That's what I needed. No weeks long of classes were going to tell me that. I just needed somebody to walk in and look at my situation and tell me what to do. So I was like, well, I convinced somebody to do that for me a little bit, but maybe I just need to be the person to do that then, if there's nobody doing that.
So do you think that people, when it comes down to and we're just talking about regular everyday people with their dogs that are you think you just become so overwhelmed with all of the compounding issues that it's simple little things that just start dismantling
absolutely issues. Absolutely. Just the simple stuff. that happens in every moment.
But I also kind of, you know, if I'm wrong, correct me, but I feel like most people don't want to do the work.
Oh, you're absolutely
Like they
right about
want,
that.
like if
There's
I'm
a reason
paying-
I don't tell people. If I went and criticized or picked out or tried to inform everybody on the things that they could do to improve their relationship with their dog, it would not matter. Most people, you know,
Yeah.
they're not
like,
they're
I
not
wanna pay
looking to
you,
do that
here's the
right
money, fix
now.
my dog.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that when you, because I'm sure that you've encountered it at least a few times where
Yeah.
people are like, it's not work, like you're telling me this and it's not working.
Oh, I'm very blunt. I'm very to the point. Like, this is not going to work unless you do the work. You don't have to do the work. I'm not your boss. You don't got to do the work. But if you're going to pay me, it might be worth your money to do the work.
And I'm usually like,
yeah. I mean, whatever. Like, if you don't want to do the work, that's really okay. There are many other people out there that do want to do the work, and they will, and they'll ask me to help them do it. So I'm okay with that.
And that sets up a good precedent. So ahead of time, you saying that to them.
Yeah, we
because then
start
either they're
there.
gonna
We start
stay
there.
or
I
they're
try
out.
to make everything very clear. Like if you go on my website, it is very much I train humans and I train animals.
Yeah, I saw that.
That means I work with both you and your animal. Like we this is very strong connection. The things that you are doing are causing your dog's behavior, and we need to know that.
wait a minute. You're saying that we have a people problem here.
Yeah, it's always a people problem.
Can you imagine? A people problem.
So in your experience, do
Couch
you think
eater.
every dog can be trained, or do you feel like there's some dogs that can't?
In my personal well, okay, let's back this up a bit. It depends on your expectations. You know, it depends on what you expect out of that dog. Can you make training improvement with every single dog? Absolutely. Because training is simply teaching something, new habits and behaviors that get different results. You can do that with anything, you know, but just like humans, how far you go will depend on how far you want to go or just who you are. The consistency. Like it just depends. Like, and different breeds will be inclined to do different things. You know, if you're trying to train a dog to do something that is absolutely 100% against what it was genetically bred to do, it's going to be hard. You know, I'm not saying you can't make progress. You can't have a relationship with a dog that understands what you want from it, but it'll be significantly
But that
harder.
takes us right back around to what we talked about prior to is if you want a Chesapeake Bay Retriever that gets in water and retrieves, then go to the proper breeder, not just that someone fucked up and bred their Chessie with a regular retriever and you're like, it won't get in the water.
Yeah, that's fair.
Or for some people, then don't get mad that it goes in the water.
Yes, yeah. Like, I don't know why my dog constantly is bringing back birds to the house and they're dead. Well, like, ma'am, you have a pointer.
Oh, yeah. The amount of
that's what's
people
gonna
I
happen.
get these days that are like, my healer won't stop nipping my children. And I'm like,
Why the fuck did you get a
yeah,
healer?
I am wondering. That's my first question. I'm like, okay, well, I do just want to know why you chose this dog.
'Cause
Like,
it
I'm
was a
just
really
wondering.
cute
Yeah, and
puppy.
that is typically the answer. You're not wrong about that. Some people get them because they're willing to do the work. They've had them before. They've had farms. They know what they're in for, and that's cool. You know, if you're willing to, you just have to be willing to offer the dog something to do that simulates what it would have been bred to do and what it would do naturally, if you want it to behave. If you don't, then I guess whatever.
Well, I think that's something that I understand about my dogs. Like, it is a me issue with my dogs. I'm not home enough.
Yeah.
And they're all rescue dogs, you know. So, like, especially Mr. Jenkins, he was very neglected. You could see his ribs, his hips, everything. So for me, like, even though I'm not here enough, that's why I try not to get too upset when they do those things. But even though I'm not here enough to deal with that, I still think his life is better with my other two dogs than sending him back to the pound. You know, I mean, here he gets fed. He is loved when I'm home. The dogs all love each other. So a couple couches get sacrificed.
You made a really good point there, and I like to talk about this. So you said that you don't get as mad because you know that
I mean,
it's
there's
you,
times where
right?
it's hard, but
yeah,
I do
yeah.
know
There's
it's
times,
me.
but when
Yeah.
you know, and that's really the big thing I try to educate on is just realizing that everything your dog does is probably stemming from something that you do. So if you just have that knowledge as a baseline, you're much more likely to either one, not be nearly as upset, not take it out on the dog, which is great. That's just a step in the right direction, and things could actually progress just from knowing that. If you think that the dog is the problem,
You're the problem.
yeah, and you're never going to get anywhere because you're just like, it's this thing. You're giving that thing the power. So you're always going to be at its mercy, like that. I mean, that's how all of life works.
One of these beings has a higher self-awareness than
Yeah,
It's probably not the person.
it's probably no.
I'm saying
I'm not even going to say probably.
It should be the person is what I'm saying.
And it's tough too. I mean, just being like in rescue, and we talked about this, like the shit that you see when you have people that come in with a very unrealistic expectation, or my personal favorite, my kids want.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, cool. Well, are your kids like 18 and 17?
Yeah.
No, your kids are fucking 4.
Literally, I think I saw something recently that was like, your kid might be awesome, but are they like, you walk the dog 2 times a day for this amount of thing? Are they your kid's probably not that awesome, because that's not a realistic expectation. You have to sit down, and expectations are the first thing, before you get a dog. Be like, why are we getting a dog? Why do we want one of these things? Like, that's worth talking about. What are we going to do about it? If the kids want a dog, you don't just get a dog because the kids want a dog. You need to sit down and be like, okay,
fluffy and cute.
Yeah, be like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do if you don't do what you say you're going to do? Have all those things planned out beforehand.
But there then becomes the problem, and I'm sure you've heard it a million times. We've talked about this where, you're, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's like 10, 12 years old. You're a kid, you want a dog. And you're like, Mom, I really want this dog. I promise I'm going to take care of it. First of all, if you're a parent and you believe that your 10 to or 12-year-old is going to promise to take care of an animal, go fucking take parenting classes, for real. Because 10 and 12 years old, you don't have... It's just not going to fucking work.
No, you also have to think of the life of the animal. The animal, I mean, if your kid is 12 years old... the animal's gonna be how old when your kid moves out, so it's not the kid's animal.
No, like, are you willing to take care of this animal?
Yeah.
Can you take care of this animal? And then maybe you have boundary issues with your children.
Yes. I talk about that a lot. Yes, because if you have boundary issues with your dog, you probably have boundary issues with other things, your kids, whatever,
So that's where this is, like, with your training, what makes it so different is, I'm sure a lot of trainers, it's just easier to stay in your lane of like, I'm training your
I don't
animal.
stay in my lane in that regard. But I let you know.
Like, we're not going to stay there.
We ain't going to stay there.
But realistically, I think that that's what every trainer really wants to say. It's just probably a whole hell of a lot easier to just not even bring that up and like just stay in that direction. Whereas the issue is the person. The issue is a human problem, probably 99.5% of the time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then you have to say to them like, hey, like it's you, we have to have issues. So that's because we had talked too, and you had said like you do some life coaching
yes
as well.
Yeah.
So
that became necessity, because what do you do when you're like, okay, I think this is where a lot of dog training fails, is a dog trainer tells you what maybe you should do to solve certain situations with your dog. Okay, that's great. Maybe your husky has way too much energy. You got yourself into the situation. Okay, now I need to do the things, or I'm going to feel real guilty, right? Because I just learned that my dog needs to exercise over 2 hours a day, and I should be eating this or that, and we should be doing the things, right? And that's when most people stop, because the trainer's not able to provide you support in making those life changes, right? Like, it's hard to get up off your butt and walk your dog twice a day. There's a reason most people don't do it. So if you can't get the human to make those changes, you're not going to make changes within the dog. So a lot of dog training, I think, just stops there, you know. But I also think that's fair. Not necessarily every dog trainer got into this to try to be a life coach for humans, you know.
Like they're like,
yeah, they can tell you what you need to do, and that's totally okay. Be like, I could tell you what you need to do, and it's your own job to motivate yourself. That's all right. But
so how do you work with people that way? Do you like keep them accountable? Do you?
So I have a variety of modalities that I use. All of these modalities work on a really deep neurological level. So it works for anybody with a neurological system. So that's including both dogs and humans. These modalities are, if you've heard of neurolinguistics programming or nonviolent communication, those are both techniques that are focused on making improvements, I would say, to communication skills. They help you aid in building new behaviors, new habits for your own well-being. So those things work on, like I said, both humans and animals. We work with Reiki energy work that works on both humans and animals. Animal embodiment, animal lessons. I work a lot with animal lessons, animal wisdom, so spirit animals, animal totems. There's so much out there in ancient texts in absolutely every area of the world. It doesn't matter where you come from. People know that animals have good, valuable insight to offer us. So I really just pair that insight, you know. So with a domestic animal, okay, your dog jumps all over you. You can't get it to stop. Or you say you can't, you know, like, why would that be? Well, you know, you probably have a hard time telling it no, right? Like when it jumps up on you, you're like, oh, well, you know, like, I'll pet you while you're up here, but like while I'm telling you to get off, like, it would be stupid to listen to you if it's getting what it wants, you know, while you're telling it not to. And those are the same things that humans do with other people, you know. We try to set boundaries with people by saying, stay over there. Well, that doesn't really work, right? Unless you like give that. Why aren't you coming and sitting by me? Like, if you don't want somebody up in your business, you can't expect them to stop just because you ask them to stop if you're still giving them like what they want out of you. So that would be like a domesticated animal lesson that we work with, and then getting that understanding and then figuring out how to change things. So that's when the neurolinguistics programming and stuff like that comes in, building positive associations, anchors, changing your body's neurological response to triggers.
So basically every person and animal that you're training is getting a truly unique and customized, like it is not
oh, absolutely. I don't go in with any like this is what we like, this is just my broad level of education, and we're gonna make a custom ordeal depending on the situation. I've never seen two of the exact same, that's for sure. Animals are just as unique as their humans.
So are you still currently involved in rescue, and are you strictly like volunteer, or are you just kind of like in and out of that realm?
So I dabble around just about everywhere in the Ohio Valley as far as rescues and shelters go. Like I said, I used to work for this county's Humane Society, so I'll still go there and I'll groom dogs. Like I've been on call for them since I left there. I've groomed, I think, all but one dog that they've asked me to groom there. So I'll do some grooming there where it helps, even though that's not, you know, my career is not heavily focused on grooming anymore. I'll still go there and groom some rescue dogs. I work with a couple of smaller organizations in the area where I may not be fostering a ton of animals. Like I'll still take a couple litter of kittens a year. Like, don't get me wrong, I can't deny, but I'm not doing a lot of the hands-on animal work with them. I've moved more into educating on an organizational level. So sometimes I'll meet with small organizations and talk to them about what their goals are for their organization, so we can coach on an organizational level paired with the animal knowledge that I have. So that's more where I lean these days, is just kind of educating on a more upper level, I suppose.
And being in this area especially, if there were like a couple of things that you wish that people knew about animal rescue in the Ohio Valley area, or what it's like in this area, is there anything that you wish that you could bring more awareness to that you think would help people in this area to understand just what it's like to be a volunteer and be part of the animal community?
I was literally going to say, experience it, you know, like so many people have something to say about rescuing animals, about taking animals off the streets, about the things that should be done about these problems, but they don't realize that, especially in our community, in our county, the majority of those things are funded through donations.
Mm-hmm.
Those things are not funded through county resources. They're not funded through your taxes. Your tax dollars might pay to have the roof over the dog's head and the county employees to pick them up off the streets, but it's not covering the cat care. It's not covering anything like that. So like if you want to see change in our local area in rescue and shelter organizations, you have to actually be the one to feed into those organizations, because it doesn't just happen by feeling bad about animals, you know,
the organization and
it doesn't work like that. Like put your resources where they need to go. That doesn't have to be money, you know, like if you've got money, by all means they need it, but if you have time, that would be great too. I know both of those things are short in the world, but spreading the word, you know, just sharing information helps greatly too. But just taking a little bit of the time and the resources that you have to actually put into it instead of wasting that energy by complaining about the situation.
I definitely think that, and you've gotten to kind of experience it with me a little bit, just the way that, you know, these people will be like, I have a stray cat problem. I don't want these fucking cats here. They do this, they do that. Well, what have you done?
Yeah, complain about it. What do you mean? Really is where the energy's going.
You complain about it, you know, bitch at your neighbors, you start neighborhood feuds, you know, or whatever, instead of just going, hey, let's come together and like think of something that we can do.
A lot of it's an education problem. Like I don't like to put the people down too much, because it is truly a lack of knowledge. Like they don't know. A lot of people don't even know what our county's Humane Society does. You know, they just look at it like a dog pound. I'll see posts on Facebook where people pick up a dog and they're like, oh my God, like I don't want to take him to the pound. And I'm like, take that dog to the pound. You know, like they'll be able to find its owner. Call the shelter. They have a book of all the people who call in with dogs that are missing and all of the people who called in with dogs that they found. They will link you up. So many people literally lose their dog forever because they don't realize that they could just call the shelter and it probably got picked up there. They hold it for 3 days, but after that, it's not your dog anymore, you know? So like, if your dog runs away, don't be like, oh, maybe they'll come back this week, because if you wait until next week to call, you already missed the mark, you know? Just call and ask or take it in, like.
And people think that the shelter, like the old dog pounds.
Yeah, I will say it depends on where you're at. I'm talking about our county here is quite well.
Jefferson
we do
County
have a no-kill shelter with pretty good protocols, as you know, in comparison
to others. But our shelter is, I mean, first and foremost, by law, every county within the United States has for dogs, it's funded via tax dollars for a dog pound. That does not mean cats.
No, that does not mean cats. Dogs are considered a health risk, a safety risk.
So unless your county does something like our county does, where we have the Humane Society and the Jefferson County Dog Pound, who are separate entities
that's something together. People don't understand. Everybody thought I worked for the county, and I'm like, no, I work for the Humane Society.
And a lot of people are very unfamiliar with the fact that cats they have no protection.
No, they don't. They're considered, at least in our area, the same as a raccoon is.
It's like a nuisance.
Our county will now. They do take, I don't know if this has always been a thing or if this was implemented when I worked there, but they are obligated now to take ill animals and injured cats. So if if a cat is injured or ill and is on the streets, they will take it in and get it care. But if there's a healthy cat on the streets, it's not their problem, and it shouldn't be either. What are you gonna do with it? And we also live in America where we see a stray animal and we're like, I need to do something about it, you know, and that's not really the case. Stray cats can live outside and be totally happy, healthy, and fine. Get a couple spayed and neutered, leave them in the area, and you won't have a million of them. That's something I wish I could just teach everybody. Like, if you have 80 cats roaming around your area and you just keep shipping them out or killing them, you know, we live in rural areas, people shoot them, poison them, whatever. If you just keep doing that, they'll just keep coming.
Or there are some really nice prominent people in the good city of Steubenville and Wintersville that like to trap them and take them out to Fernwood.
Yeah.
And really nice residential areas.
Yeah.
They just let them go in Fernwood?
Oh, yeah. There's a very specific woman who I love to name.
She's like, I would love to tell you.
Who likes to trap people's domesticated pets in their nice white bread neighborhood and drive them to Fernwood and just drop them off because she doesn't want cats on her.
If you have stray cats, if you have stray cats in your area, in your neighborhood,
or just cats that are maybe
cats that are
someone.
Okay, when I say stray cats, I mean you look out your window and there's a cat out there, you know, and it's not a free range cat. If there are free range cats in your neighborhood and people are either killing them or just trapping them and dropping them off somewhere else, you are not fixing the problem. Like, cats will just keep coming in because that space is vacant. If you were to leave a couple cats, trap them, spay them, neuter them, and leave them in the area, other cats will recognize that that area is occupied and they won't keep moving in. So it's fine. Like, have a handful of free range, well cared for cats in the community that aren't reproducing. They're being looked after. They take care of, whatever.
Bed.
Yes, somebody's got poop in my flower bed.
Fuck your flower bed.
Yes, not only fuck your flower beds, but
Yeah.
And people don't know. Do a Google search. Like, there are things you can do to keep animals from pooping in your flower beds.
Like,
you know?
leaving out antifreeze to poison them?
Yeah.
and won't they help get rid of some of the other animals that will attack your flower bed or your garden?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, oh my God, Dave, what do you mean?
I'm just saying.
We love our birds. We have to have fucking bird feeders everywhere.
Yep.
No, I mean, I think that
And
like
is cat
cats
feces like the only feces in the world that doesn't work as like fertilizer?
Listen,
yeah, I don't know. People just have a thing.
what
They're
are
like,
you
not
talking
cat
about?
poop.
You can't let dog shit be out there. You got to put it in a plastic bag that does not biodegrade, or you're in big fucking trouble.
I don't think people like cats just because you can't control them.
They do. They get pissed off about it. They're just it just becomes this personal thing that they're like, this is my hill. I'm gonna die on it. You're not shitting in my flower beds.
Cats they're sneaky.
Yes.
Cats aren't domesticated the way dogs
No,
are.
I say that cats are tame. Cats are tame. We've
the only
tamed
cat
cats.
I've ever owned, I loved because he was an asshole. And you had to pet him the way he wanted to be
That's
pet.
the thing. I say if people don't like cats,
I don't
those are people that have maybe a problem with
Boundary issues.
yeah, with being told how somebody likes something. You know, like a cat. You can't just rough it up and be like, hey, cat, how are you? It's going to be like, whoa, I don't like being touched like that. And it will show you exactly how it likes. And people who aren't willing to slow down and communicate and listen to others' desires and needs and have some empathy for the situation are like, I just hate cats because they don't let me do whatever I want to do. You know?
You don't know what they're thinking. Like,
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Make
And
it
also,
make
guy,
sense.
your dog is sad because you have that attitude.
Literally.
You just don't realize it.
That's why it is. No, you're totally right. You are so incredibly right. Your dog does not want you to pet it half the amount of times that you pet it. Like, just so you know, when it looks at you, like, really, lady, like, it means
Like this.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
like, what the fuck are you
He's
gonna
like
do?
looking at you like,
I just will tolerate
like,
it.
really, I was
Like,
enjoying my
I'm
nap.
fine. Don't bother me.
Which is fine. There's a certain extent where, like, that's fine. Like, do I pet my dog sometimes when it doesn't like to be petted?
course.
Sure. Of course. Like, I'm not like the
Yes.
pet police. Like, it's fine.
Yeah, like when it's 4 a.m. and they're just deep in the paws, licking.
Yeah.
And fucking up the
yeah.
bag.
Yeah. But you're like, whoa. Yeah. That licking. But yeah. But a lot of people don't realize that it goes both ways. Like, if you have a dog that's always invading your space and that irritates you, like they're always licking you, they're always jumping on you, they're always doing whatever. Stop and think, like, are you always invading your dog's space? You know, like, Probably. Like, it goes both ways. Like, they're gonna mirror back whatever you're doing. So
I'm actually surprised it's just taken as long, because I know you've grown up with animals too, for like people to just evolve and get to the point where I would say like they're like your equal. Like to me, that's how I want to view them. I don't care how whatever. But
I'm like, you guys are my superior. Like I work for the animals. They know what they're doing.
It's actually why I never train my dogs to sit or anything. I'm like, I don't need to demand you to sit. I mean, I get what
honestly,
some people do. I want you to stay in the
that's
yard.
That's
safe for you.
Yeah.
So I teach them to stay in the yard. My dogs don't have leashes. Like if I take them for a walk, I have one, so I can't even take all three. And then I teach them like, hey, get on the couch because you're about to be scared of the vacuum cleaner. But I don't say.
We got a system here.
Somebody will come over and be like, sit, and I'm like, yeah, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a good example of your dogs training your dogs to do what's important to you. So many people go through weeks of puppy classes and their dog learns how to sit for 2 seconds
and that's
with a treat in front of it, and I'm like, when is
you,
that beneficial?
My dogs also don't have treats.
No.
Yeah, okay.
Do you see the parallels with like parenting and dog ownership? And like now we've gone into gentle parenting.
Oh yeah.
Which, I mean, whatever. You do your thing with kids. I don't care. But like, I definitely can see where before it was this like authoritarian relationship with our animals. Like, you know, when you're going to strong arm them. And now it's like, let's do it in a more gentle
and I like to say an understanding way. Like I need to, like, now we're like, okay, maybe I need to understand your needs, because at the root of everything, everybody is doing something just to get their needs met.
So what we're saying is we have to treat our animals with respect.
Yeah, if you want it back, that's all I'm saying. You know, if you don't want respect, then
that's a really hard concept for people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, I remember growing up. I mean, I'm only 25, and I remember growing up, and people were still like, I don't know, not all animals don't have feelings, you know? I'm sure, not even sure, like, my great-grandparents would have thought that. I think it was it depended on the person, you know? Like, some people thought that animals had feelings, and some people were like, nah, that's just a thing with eyeballs, I guess. I don't know.
Dogs belong outside.
Yeah,
that's it. And it wasn't that they didn't love their animals, just animals, they belong outside. They had
that was just what they were taught.
Everything provided for. Like, what is it still by law? All that your animal has to have is food, some form of shelter, three-sided, correct?
Yes, three-sided.
And water.
Yeah.
And that's it. That is literally it. That does not mean anything. Like, it has to be heated, cooled. Like, no.
Yeah, they usually don't have. I mean, I think our county just changed a couple of things
it's the
recently.
What is it?
The temperature and the tethering. Yeah,
we've
cracked down on those. Like, I don't think you can use heavy chains anymore, and I don't think. I think that you're supposed to bring your animal in under a certain temperature, but realistically, I don't think that does much for our area, because
no.
Well, and yeah, because what are you gonna do? Like, you have this dog that you keep outside all the time unless it's under a certain temperature, and then you put it in your house and it eats your doors because
what all it comes down to is enough neighbors call, complain, and dependent upon who takes this call, which I mean, I'm not attacking anyone personally here, but there are times when people in the positions with the authority won't do shit
just
about it, and then they're just like, well, we know so and so who lives here and they have 2 dogs and they're always outside and he's a dick, so I really don't want to go talk to him about his dogs. So it just goes to the wayside of things.
And I think a lot of that is also the inability to do anything about the problem. You know, like, what are we gonna do if the shelter's all full? Like, what am I gonna do? Take your dog because it's too cold this day?
Let him eat my house.
Yes. Just bring him over here. He can eat his couch. It'll be fine. There's not enough homes like that, you know?
I keep an extra one in the garage just to be chewed on.
He can stay on there.
It's all right. Send them all here. He's got to get a new couch anyways.
Apparently, I won't turn him down.
How could you, though?
I just
Mr.
can't.
Jenkins is so precious.
Yeah, he's a good dog.
Well, I mean
he's a bad dog.
We're one to talk about not being
bad
able
dogs
to say
are
no.
good dogs.
We can't say no to shit. I mean,
I mean, that's. Yeah, I see that with. It's as so right as you want it to be all right,
honest,
just like
I'm
everything else.
Dog, so.
Fair enough.
Now, have you trained anything besides dogs or cats? Any other types of animals, or no?
I mean, I'll do just about anything. I mean, I've worked with a variety of animals: dogs, cats, horses. the Humane Society called me about a guinea pig recently. I think I told you guys about that. Yeah, because like I said, it works on, like, training works on anything with a neurological system, because it's just, how can I teach this thing to have a different reaction to whatever it is that triggers it? And you can do that with literally everything. And it's going to be pretty similar. Like, little things will change depending on the species, you know, and their preferences and their needs. But in general, it's a pretty straightforward system across all brains.
So I want to, like, ask you about 4-H, because, I mean, we're a big 4-H.
Yeah, we're a big 4-H area. A lot of people have no idea what 4-H is.
No, and I, you know, was never involved in 4-H just because I was in, like, Steubenville City schools, which they now do offer 4-H, which is super awesome.
So great, because there's so much in 4-H that's not farm animals.
And I think 4-H, like, I am not one for the slaughter of animals, but, like, I do understand it, and I do think that 4-H can be a really positive thing. Like, do you care to share any insight on, like, what 4-H was like for you growing up? And
I will talk about 4-H all day, because 4-H gave me so many skills that I use today. So many skills. So if you're listening and you don't know what 4-H is, it's just an organization. A lot of people associate it with farming. They're the people usually that have the farm animals at the county fair, the people who have all the projects also in there. Like I said, farm animals are usually their association, but they do everything. They focus a lot on engineering, leadership skills, art, culinary skills, like really teaching real life skills. I got involved in that. I was a bit of a late start in regards to most 4-H, because they start as clover buds, you know, and you're like preschool 4-Hers. Little cute, tiny little kids. I got a little bit of a late start. I think it was like early middle school, but it taught me so much. One, obviously animal handling. Like, you go to 4-H is great. They're the kids at the fair that you see, and you're watching, like, a 7-year-old girl, like, manhandle trying to, like, get this giant lamb, you know, to, like, do what she wants. And if you've seen people show lambs, there are no tools involved. There's no leashes. There's no harnesses. You actually just bear against the lamb, and you just use your body to show it around the ring. So it's teaching children how to do difficult skills at a very young age, and very important skills.
It's a lot of work. Like, people don't
so much
realize
work.
the
It's so much
time.
work. Yes, I mean, I raised baby goats, bunnies, chickens, and waking up in the morning, you know, as babies go out, bottle feed the goats before you go to school. Like I said, it's not all farm work. I did art projects, and I did photography projects, and those are all the same. You have to consistently work on this project throughout the year, and then you show it at the end of the year. You do a bit of a presentation, so it's great at just teaching you consistency, working a goal all the way through completion, and presenting that in front of somebody too. It's big on, like, I did, like, practice interviews and stuff with 4-H, and announcing shows. Like, you have 15-year-olds that actually run the county fair. Like, they're doing all of the announcing, they're handing out all the ribbons. Like, it's a very big responsibility. You're doing a lot of adult work.
I've always been really impressed when it comes to, like, the lamb, calf, pig.
Yeah.
You know, when you're dealing with a big animal too, just to see kids how much they put into it. And, like, yes, they're going to auction and they're getting something out of it, but, like, it's just to see.
That's not usually what it's about for most kids, I'd say. Yeah, no.
But to see them, like, they hang out with their friends, and they're not. I would much rather see a kid do something outside and with their hands than, you know, be inside.
Real life skills.
And they have their friends, and it's just, I've always thought it was super impressive, because these kids get up and do a very adult task, in my opinion. And then they live out there at the fair with their animals and their people. And I've always super respected 4-H.
It's dedication, for sure. Most 4-H clubs are meeting at the least on a monthly basis, if not more. There's several events through the year. Like, it's very involved. I mean, it's involved as you want it to be, but it's really, really great.
I'm very happy to see it come to Steubenville City Schools, though. Like, made my heart so happy, just because.
The bigger it gets, the better. I mean, because it's great for everybody. Like I said, I learned so many leadership skills, engineering skills, people skills, public speaking skills, just all the stuff that you kind of wish that they were teaching your kids in school. Don't just rely on the school to do that stuff. There are organizations out there that offer those things in our community. Like, go out and get them.
And do you think
and it's free, right? Like 4-H is I should mention this, 4-H is very, very low cost, if not zero cost. They do their best to help out in any situation. Projects cost like, if you're doing something like photography and art and whatnot, in my brain from inflation these days, but when I was little, those were like $10-15 kind of ordeals. Like, it's not anything that you have to invest.
But there are people
in.
that I know, especially in Harrison County, how that is like
the more
big.
Farm counties you
big.
get into FFA and stuff,
and that stuff gets like pricey and things like that, but that's your choice.
And if you're
pricey.
not everybody's able to do farm animals. Not everybody has the space, and not everybody has the funds, because if you're doing a farm animal, it's teaching a lot of responsibility, because you're taking your money, your resources, you're buying all of these products and putting it into something. You're spending money to make money, essentially. So if you're doing a market animal, you're paying to feed and house and doing all that work, and then you don't get the profit until later, which is quite the lesson. And I would say that the majority of 4-H kids work with their parents. Like, I know that my parents would often put forth the cost of our first animal. They're like, okay, we'll pay to feed this one, we'll buy the food bags, you're a kid, you don't have a job, but once you sell this one, you have to take part of that money and you have to set it back for your next animal, because you need to be able to afford to feed that animal and to buy a new animal, because once you sell the one, once you sell a pen of chickens, you get the money, but then you have to put money aside to buy more chickens and to buy more feed. So
that's a great way to teach them.
Oh
money
yeah, it
teaches
that for sure. Obviously, that's with slaughter animals, and that's its own lesson in life, but I think it's an important one. Like, I did not eat meat for probably over 6 years of my life, but I do now. Honestly, mostly for health issues, but I think that raising market goats, and goats are very much like dogs. I don't know if you've ever worked with goats. They're very loving, and they're very much like dogs. Raised goats for market, and it was a learning experience, but it's a learning experience that I'm really glad I had, because I think that most people don't have a connection to their food and where it comes from.
Do kids have an emotional, do you remember
back
then?
Bawled my eyes out, it's very emotional sale day when they come to take your animal, and you get to watch them load them up into the truck, and maybe they're not treating them the same way you would have treated them at home, and it's emotional. Some kids want to be there for it, and some kids just don't come that morning, because they're like, I'll say goodbye that night and we'll just let it go. But it's already happening, right? 4-H is the kindest way. Some people would say there's no kind way to take a life. I get that, but there's a spectrum to everything, and in comparison to mass farming of animals that never see the light of day, 4-H animals are in homes on a very small scale. Those 6 chickens might be the only 6 chickens that kid took care of, the entire time. So a lot of effort and energy was put into them to make sure that they're well and they're happy. So it's teaching you how to do it the right way, and also teaching you the value of an animal's life. I don't think it means as much whenever you pick up a chicken breast off the Kroger shelf, and you've never had that experience before. You're just like, here's what it is. You have no picture in your head of what went into that product. Whenever you have studied how to take care of the animal, and even if 4-H kids aren't butchering their own animals, they study the cuts of the meat and how they would do it. They know the whole process from start to finish. So they're involved. They know what goes into it, and that makes up how much you're going to consume and how you're going to treat it.
And I think me and you have talked about this, though, because I never thought about that aspect of where it came from and stuff growing up. I was very sheltered
you just
from
don't think about it if you don't have that experience.
But I think a lot of people don't want to. I think they almost
you don't want to think about that. I don't like thinking about it, for
it's
sure.
Fucking shitty, and it's terrible, but the bottom line comes down to, I think, don't be a bitch. Like, if you're going to be willing to sit there and be like, I love eating steak, well, then I think that you should be
educated. I do
yeah,
think
you
that,
should be educated. And
when you're educated, you consume less. I can tell you that.
Absolutely.
I don't know anybody who
Absolutely.
knows where their food comes from and went, oh, maybe I'll be a little conscious of that. You know, like, I'm not saying don't eat it, but when you know, you can be mindful and you can be respectful and you can be appreciative of that animal
that buys a steer or a pig or market sheep. They are like, there's like a reverence that comes like when they speak
you're
of it,
connected.
They're like,
it's
no, you know what, we don't buy meat from the store, you know, we get a steer and that's what we use for the year.
And we live in an area where you can do that, guys. Like, go out and check the markets and be like, okay, where can I just buy a couple chickens for the year? Where can I, because they'll cut them for you and put
prices the way that they are
and
now.
you save money. You save so much money. It's so much better for you. Like, what, all chicken comes from like 2 companies. Yeah, it tastes so much different. It's way better.
Yeah, and if you think your Tyson chicken is healthy, I dare you to watch one of the.
You think you have variety? Oh yeah,
it's just not healthy.
No.
Like, you know, we haven't eaten anything besides fish in how many years now?
I mean,
it's been
4 or 5 years.
4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
and there's times where I miss the convenience of things, but
oh, absolutely,
knowing what I know and seeing what I've seen. And then too, like, having chickens as pets, like, I could never go back to it. But I think if you know the process and you still choose to, you know,
you come out of it differently. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, I did not eat meat for years, and I don't think I ever eat a piece of meat now that I'm not like, thank you, you know, thank you. I appreciate this, like, genuinely.
Because I'm not like, if you want to eat meat, I think that that's fine. Like, to me, it's not a health issue. For the reason why I do it is just, I don't want to participate in that.
Yeah, that it was an ethics issue for me too. And still to these days, I won't eat meat from fast food places. Really, you know, you're not gonna catch me. Like, literally, I'm not gonna be just because I know where it comes from. I try my best to buy any meat from local farms, and you can do that. You know, right in Wheeling, we've got Public Market. They literally have flyers posted of pictures of the animals. Go follow their social media, see what it's like, you know, and they're just real families with real family farms. Like, there are places you can go out and get that. So I try to eat meat that way, but it's a new thing for me.
When you go to the fair, go to the auction. I mean, it might be a little weird, but at least
especially if you're a small business. Like, a lot of small businesses are really good for supporting and buying meat, and then even, you know, just distributing otherwise, because it can be expensive to buy animals from the fair because everybody's there to support the kids. So those animals are not being sold for prices that would be, you know, like, sustainable, but you're supporting. We have McConnell's out there. I don't know a lot about personal farms.
There used to be a guy that was out in this, I think McKinney might have been the last name. Out in
I don't know. I know that I was in 4-H with McConnell's. Yep, that does sound
because
familiar.
I remember when they had the farmers market at EGCC, I used to only buy my beef from
there.
him. Oh. And sometimes he didn't have it. So guess what? You just didn't get beef.
That week. You waited. But that's another thing. Like, we're not used to that in today's world. They're like, this is what I want for dinner, so I'm gonna go out and buy it.
No,
it helps.
You might have to.
Eat in season. Like, just wait. But oh my gosh, doesn't it make things so much more special?
And that's another problem.
When you have everything you want, you don't.
Like, with the quantity amounts, like, people complain because there isn't chicken on the well, do you know there's only so many? Like, you can't.
But like, there is chicken. There's chicken thighs. There's chicken legs. You don't want that. You want this.
We're just very, very particular.
Chicken thighs are delicious.
Chicken thighs were delicious. I will say that. Well, now that we have the meat turkey, it has really we've had him for 2 weeks, and even since last week, like, he has doubled in size.
Oh, I believe it. Poultry is insane. They grow so fast.
Especially like meat birds. This is our first proper meat bird, and it is insane.
Oh, they're made to grow.
It's nuts just to see how big and bulky and beefy, and then to think like, oh my God, this is what somebody would eat, and to just know, like, genetically
Yeah.
something's not right if it's growing that fast. Like, something's off, like real off.
Yeah, that could be. Although I do say poultry grows very fast because nature does that. You see a little vulnerable turkey or a chick, it can only afford to be that way for so long before something snatches it up. So nature's like, hop to it, man. We got to grow some feathers.
Which I thoroughly enjoy because like every day I'm like, it's dead. It's dead.
Yeah.
Like I just am like prepared that anytime
Yeah,
we
you
have
are.
baby anything, I'm like, they're dead.
Well,
It's
that
okay.
you've worked in rescue, and that's
Yeah.
part of doing baby anything. Literally
Yeah,
And I'm
anything
always so
that's a
hope. I'm like,
baby.
it's gonna be
And I'm like,
fine.
no. Mm-mm. I'm like, no.
See, I just roll with it neutral. I'm like, you could live, you could die. Either way, we're here. Man, it's cool. I love you for what you are, and however long you're here.
you do the foster walk, and you're like, put your ear up to the door. Hear anything? Go in and look. Like, okay, you're breathing. You're good.
You're good.
You're good. You're still alive.
Yeah.
All right, we'll go.
Oh
about our
yeah,
day.
yeah, because you've done the tiny little babies, babies.
Yeah, the
kitty babies.
Well, like the first. Who was our first bad batch that I had?
Oliver and
Which
Wendy One Eye.
all three of them survived, but that was your first time with, a sick batch where we had upper respiratory eye infections,
Yep.
enucleated
blind
eyes,
cats. We had one
blind.
that had to
Yep.
get a eye taken
I
out.
removed
Yep.
the standard
Inoculation.
sickly kitten stuff.
Yeah, where we come up the steps and this cute little kitten is just sitting there, and it
Oh, I forgot about
ruptured.
this.
It
Oh,
was, like-
yeah.
and it
Oh,
was
yeah.
Just, and I'm like,
They'll
don't
just-
look.
Kitten eyeballs when they get like colds, their eyes get so full of fluid that like literally you'll go to like wipe the crease of their eyelid and they just like literally explode like green slime. It's rough, but it's figured you needed an image of that.
And isn't it like horrible? Because we're like, you
Because I've done it so many times, I'm like, you just need to know
And
that.
cats are
but
so
that's what they
resilient,
are.
they're
Like
fine.
cat, they're resilient. First off, with the, we know cats have 9 lives, but with all the antibiotics and everything that we have these days too. But realistically, like that's just the life of working with kittens. Like cats reproduce fast and they have big litters because in nature most of them are not necessarily supposed to survive. Like we know that they're not
Not with people like us
going
around.
to, yeah, but not with people like us.
We're like, no, let's find the shittiest looking ones.
So
and we'll
kittens
take
get
them.
sick so easy, and nature knows that. That's why it makes so many of them. But humans make it, our problem, and we save all the little sick
Then
guys.
we
And
want to take you.
yes.
And then they turn into terrorists like Peanut.
Yeah.
Who does whatever the fuck she wants. She's like, why does this cat do this? I'm like, because you let her do that.
That's always going
Let
to be the
her
answer.
do that.
You get what you accept.
You thought, we both thought she was going to die. I definitely thought she was going to die. So she would
She
like
was so tiny.
take her to work and she would like lay on her keyboard.
Is that the little orange cat you were talking about?
Oh no, that's Special Sadie.
Oh, I got
Very special Sadie.
Or little gray and white one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know what you mean now. Yep.
She's tiny.
Mhm,
Yeah, you kept
yeah.
telling me she was going to get bigger. And
I
didn't.
really did. So you have
She's
those
just
tiny,
petite.
decrepit kittens,
Well, yeah,
and you're like,
it'll
trust
grow.
me, this will be the biggest
no,
one
but
of the bunch.
sometimes they really are. If they're like so malnourished when they're little, you're like, oh, I guess you are
Like,
just
she's
small.
so tiny.
teeny tiny. She's one of the smallest cats I've ever had.
I had a little one like that too. She was sick as a kitten. One of those barn cats that was genetically just like
Probably shouldn't have made it. And somehow
yeah, but brought her inside, babied her enough that she made it. She was tiny. She was built weird, short little legs, big belly. It was like,
did. Barn cats.
yeah,
I
yeah.
swear.
It is inbred breeding though. There's just only so many.
Yeah,
They get a little weird looking.
cats, I feel like can inbreed pretty
Pretty far.
And it's-
And like I don't know the science behind that, but from personal experience, it's pretty far.
And it's like not like with people where like you do one generation of inbreeding and it's full hills have eyes.
Yeah, no.
With cats, you have like 20 generations back of
I don't
inbreeding.
know.
and
I
they're,
guess I'm like,
chill.
do humans work like that? I don't know.
Listen,
They make it seem like that in movies,
Wait,
but like
there's literally a family. I think they're in like Tennessee or Kentucky. And are you familiar with them? Like they're truly inbred. Like
yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
And-
I can't remember where they're from, but there's physical deformities and mental.
yeah, like-
I mean, I know it happens. I was just like, how fast, Are we talking like next litter stuff?
they're literally like if you watch these people, it is
quick.
Yeah, because I think
Fair
it
enough.
was like
Fair enough.
brother
Well, we
and
see
sister,
royalty
mom
and
dad.
stuff, you know,
Right.
and that looked
Yeah.
like it got pretty
when
funky
you-
pretty
when
quick.
in the grand scheme of things, when you go back and look at the history, like so many people are related, but it's not like brother and sister,
Yeah.
and then brother and sister, and
Yeah.
then brother and
Mhm.
sister.
Like-
Yeah, that's when.
But this family
that
is
family
like
is brother and sister.
Yeah, I don't
brother
know
and
if cats
sister.
shoot for brother,
Probably
sister, or
dad and daughter.
cousins when given the option. I don't know if it matters to them.
I don't think it matters.
Don't think it matters.
Mm-mm.
I'm not
You've
sure.
heard someone in heat, and I think they will take it. You could literally throw
Yeah.
things at them, and they're like, this
sure,
is great.
sure, this is it.
Like, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Whoever.
Yeah, cats in heat don't seem very particular.
Cat in heat is a very special, but that's a
Yeah.
whole other bit of
it's
things.
a whole other
So
event.
what where can people find you, like for your services?
For my services.
For your services.
Yeah, what's your website again?
I have a website called Soul Train Animal Care at squaresite.com, so I'm sure we'll be able to put that somewhere because I know ain't nobody gonna remember a link. But yes, I do have a website that you can reach out to. Instagram I'm pretty active on, so that's just Soul Train Connection on there with
And
dots.
you throw some tips on there too. I've
Yeah,
seen them,
I
which is
try really
cool.
hard to make education available to people that aren't necessarily paying for my services.
And you're on TikTok too.
I am on
I think
TikTok.
I
That's
thought-
new to me.
Okay.
I've just entered the whole TikTok Reels world.
Welcome.
I'm here. I've done some. I have more
Welcome.
time now. I'm just coming out of a big medical break. So previously I was like running this grooming business while simultaneously trying to kick off the Soul Train thing and get that started. So I didn't have a lot of time for social media posts and TikTok funny videos and whatnot. But now that Soul Train is just my primary focus and I'm feeling significantly better than I was previously, I can do the fun stuff now. I'm trying to make time for the fun stuff and sharing more publicly.
Which is awesome because I think we just need, well, the community that we like met you through too, like we'll touch on that. Like
Yeah, because we met on a group hike that
Yeah.
Kara organized. Kara, Thief of the Woods, she makes magical plant and fungi medicines.
Which is just so funny because we talk all the time. We're like, we can't believe like we've got connected with so many people
Yeah.
that well, not you, but like I've lived here my whole life.
Yeah, I've been here
and
forever.
never met any of you guys.
I mean, I guess I'm 25 now, so I'm like just now like.
But like we barely missed each other at the shelter.
Yeah,
Like, I don't
you
know
worked,
how-
you volunteered and whatnot. They're very, very close.
Yeah, I don't know
before-
how
'cause
we
know
didn't
same
cross
people.
paths. And
Yeah, I don't know.
Same
You looked.
thing.
I remember being like, "Oh, you look familiar to me," but like I had no idea.
So it's been very cool to see how like everybody has crisscross paths and the big connector in the middle. It seems to be like our just love for outdoors.
Yeah,
like
Yeah.
all
nature,
thing- yeah,
all things nature.
and
You know, be
outdoors.
that and healing. Just learning how to live well and feel good. And the answer to that just so happens to be the outdoors and nature and plants and animals and moving your body and taking care of yourself and just all of the things that all of us do. Just living life. People that are genuinely interested in living real life for all that it has to offer, not just working and
What do you
going
mean?
home.
Work, gym,
Yeah,
go out and have
like
some
that's
drinks.
it.
That's not real life.
Yeah,
Joking.
yeah,
I mean,
real
whatever.
stuff.
But do you are you down at Empowered too? Do you go down there? with any-
I go
like,
there down there every now and
Okay.
again, because I got introduced down at Empowered, the yoga studio, wellness studio, because, well, Anthony, my ex-husband, I don't know if you know that I was married to Anthony Sterling. Yeah, so I was married to Anthony Sterling for a very long time. We were together from like 13 to like, I don't know, 20 something. So once he got a gig down there doing stuff, that's kind of whenever I was like, oh yeah, because we still work together, like good friends, business wise, we work together a lot. So I was like, yeah, he does sound baths there. He does sound therapy,
And we're actually
meditation
gonna have him on the
classes.
show one
Yeah,
day,
I was
too.
gonna say, I think he was talking about this. He'll be doing this soon too. But he got in down there doing stuff. So that's kind of how I trickled in. Like I started, just supporting his sound baths and stuff that he does down there. And I met Devin, and I'm somebody who's super into intuitive dance and just moving your body in a primal way for healing. And Devin is all about that too. Devin Animal, Devin Ann, she teaches yoga down there, and she owns Soul Align. She does crystals and dance and all that. So I know her too. So I've just kind of ended up at Empowered hanging out just from knowing people. Kara, I linked up with Kara, and then she started, selling her products out of there too.
And
so
kind enough to take us all on the hikes with
yeah,
her.
yes. So like I just kind of ended up at Empowered a good bit. I don't know Amanda too well. I don't know a lot of other people too well. I just happen to support a lot of people that work out of this space.
It's funny. It's like the common meeting ground for everyone.
Yeah, it just kind of became a bit of a common ground. I think I've only taken one yoga class there. The rest of it has all been dance and wellness and just
out.
I'm like, I just know everybody who works here. Like,
which is funny because it is like a little like hangout. Like anytime we've gone down there, whether it's like to take a class or like to pop in, you always see somebody like that or like, oh, we like met this one time through here. Or somebody's introducing you to somebody.
It's neat because it's in a nice space, and it's really the only yoga studio, wellness studio up in this area. And like, I mean, it's even not that this is far from me. Where I live, I'm split between Wheeling and Steubenville, so I didn't really come up this way for that kind of stuff. I had a pretty residential yoga studio that I hung out at a lot in Wheeling. If you guys had ever been to Happy Goat Yoga with Lindsay Schuler, she's wonderful. I got in there when I was like, started going there when I was like 18, and we live in the same area, like almost on the same road. So I just knew her well, but she closed the physical space of her studio during the pandemic, and now she just travels about doing all sorts of cool stuff, but she bebops around. But when her studio closed, I was like, well, I didn't really have a studio space that I went to regularly where community linked up like that. And then Anthony started going to Empowered, and I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe I'll just meander over there.
Oh, that's cool how things work out.
Yeah, it just kind of
which it is really
out.
nice because it is a really cool little
and I think a lot of people too have kind of come from that area up into here because there's not a lot of options in the area. So when one physical location kind of shuts down, it's like,
which
we
it's
kind of
nice
got to
because
direct.
Wheeling it's close enough, but it's like far away.
Yeah, it's
that,
far.
You don't always want to like be inconvenienced.
Oh yeah, like I didn't grow up going to Wheeling. I lived more in like the Mingo kind of Smithfield area.
Yeah, because you're in that weird. Like I was trying to explain to her how geographically it's set up, and I'm like, it's like the horseshoe.
Yeah, I'm in like a weird rural area on the outskirts.
In the middle, like
literally in the middle of the woods, but like close to things. We're like 6 minutes from the highway, but on like a campground in the middle, on like a sportsman club in the middle of the woods.
Like, do we really want to leave the house?
Yeah,
like, we're going into town. What do
literally, it's like the closest dollar store is definitely going to be like 20
what do
minutes.
you guys have out there? Like, I'm trying to think in Smithfield, what you would go to.
The Super C.
Yeah,
Luna Blue. That's there now.
Well,
but I mean, as far as stores go, that's new.
Yeah.
Previously, it was just like the Vendit and the Super C, and there's a pizza place there. But
random, and that's
probably all.
Or
but
you
now
have to come
Luna's
down
there.
off the hill and go into like Raylan.
Yes, I would have to. I literally, if we go to like a dollar store, the gas station, we have to go to Yorkville, which is.
Man.
I guess to you guys that doesn't seem like that's like, oh my gosh, that's a lot, but I've never lived any closer than like 30 minutes to a Walmart or something like that, or like I've never lived closer than like I've never lived closer than 20 minutes to a Dollar General or a gas station or anything like that.
Really isn't. I don't know.
I like it.
I would like
it.
that.
I got a plan. I like it, and I'm not somebody who will leave the house for stuff. Like, if I want to make something for dinner, like my boyfriend Charlie will be like, well, like I'll just run to the store and like get a pack of cream cheese, and I'm like, no. Like, no, that's not worth it. I will find something else. So, like, I'm in.
Like, I don't know if I could move.
I mean, like,
that's
a whole hour investment. Gas, like the $5 you're gonna pay for one pack of cream cheese at a dollar store, in comparison.
Oh, and I'm so lazy. I would never leave. Like,
no.
I don't want to leave now. I'm like, oh, I really want to go get this, but it's all the way at Kroger's, which is 3 minutes away.
Nope.
Nah.
Oh, yeah, really. No. I still probably wouldn't either.
No,
I'd be like, it's not worth it for me.
Oh, it's not worth it at all.
I'm a homebody. I like it.
That's
where the animals are.
Yeah, listen, that's why
this whole group
of us have never actually linked up.
Yeah, honestly.
None of us
left
it
wasn't
the
until
house.
somebody was like, oh, let's like
Kara.
Yeah.
Kara's like,
"We'll
I
hike?"
need everybody to come on the hikes. And then here
Then
we
we're
all
like,
are
okay.
like, she really invited a lot of people. Where did we all come from?
Yeah, but hey, that's how we got to chatting, and we were like, oh wait, we're also weird animal people. How many do you have? Oh my god, you might have me beat.
Yeah, people are like, they have a lot of animals. And they're like, how many do you have? And we're always like, I don't want to answer.
Tell you.
And then there's someone else who're like, I have 5 dogs. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay.
Woo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Paul, you're over the 10. All right, you're my kind of people.
Or you're like, oh yeah, well we have land. And I'm like, it's fine.
It's-
You can tell them.
Yeah.
They can know. You're allowed to know.
Oh yeah, I don't think I ever know how many animals I have off the top of my
Do
head,
you
but they
really-
come in and out because
do
I
you really
foster.
wanna count? You know, like I don't ever. When people are like, "Do you know exactly how many?" I'm like, I don't want to fully count.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think there's a reason.
I've kind of capped myself off. We have 4 dogs, 4 cats of our own. That's like we own these ones. We're keeping them through their whole lives, and then I also have 2 ferrets that we own. But we have trickle, come in, be
Yeah.
that foster cats or dogs
know.
or yeah. So like
We're just heading into kitten season.
yeah, yes, we're about to head into kitten season. So like I have 5 technically in my house right now. One's a project cat, a behavior case. And kitten season's coming up. So yeah, I guess technically if you want to count those, I might have a whole litter. That adds like 8.
I'm getting like the death glare from you.
Yeah.
What?
I open, so you get to ask the finishing question.
How do I word the finishing question? This damn question has taken.
I know we have to find the right way that we can consistently say it.
Yeah, there's no way. Why?
know.
It's a scripted. Fuck it. So if there's like one thing, like one very important thing in your life that you have learned that you would care to share with others to help make their life a little more easier, hopeful, and or productive, what would that be? What could you share?
Well, I feel like I should go with the animal theme, just given today's topic.
It doesn't necessarily have
No,
to
it
be.
doesn't have to be, I suppose. And this just kind of opens up to anything, is if you feel like you don't have like a guidebook to the world, if you're like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like, does anybody know what they're doing here? Stop and actually just take a look around you, because you can learn so much from your environment and how it responds to you. That's all I'm doing with animals here. But just everything you need is around you. Like, nature is your guidebook. Like, a lot of the dis-ease that we experience as humans is just because we're so disconnected from the world. There's a reason we feel so like, what do I do in this world? Look around at it, and see how you fit in, see how it responds to you, and it will make literally a world of a difference.
So you're saying we have to be present?
Yeah, look around.
No, I
see
dig
why,
that.
question things, and use the natural world. And this is where we came from.
We have to be free thinkers.
Yeah.
No, I think that's like really important.
Yeah, but that's a skill you
Advice.
learn too, and go out and find other people who are doing it. That's all I can recommend. If you see people living lives that you're like, oh, I want to feel like that, and like real stuff, not like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to have that or I want to look like that,
Yeah.
but like, oh, I want to feel the way that they feel. Hang out with those people,
Yeah.
like just observe them, see what they're doing. Like, they did it, they got those results because they did the things they did. So just
Find your Kara Monagold who will
link
you with
link
all
you
the other
together.
weirdos.
Community, yeah,
Yeah.
just go out. People aren't as bad as you think they are. I'm an animal person. I always say animal people are like, I don't like people, but I like animals. But in all reality, people aren't that bad. Like, if you just go out and talk to them
And you find your people.
Yes, and you can find yours. Like, there's plenty of people out there that they're not all bad.
I'm still like,
She's like, I don't know.
Sarah's
no,
still
I
on the
agree.
fence.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
you need to. People, we need community, just as you need a pack, just as much as any animal does.
I like that.
Yeah,
need a
Thank you
pack.
so much for being on today and being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
Good
Good
for
time.
coming. I'm sure we'll be. Yeah,
Well,
there'll be
we'll
times
talk.
where we'll be talking
Yes,
about
we'll
many
talk.
other
I love
things.
to talk. I'll talk forever.
Well, like, subscribe, follow us on all the platforms.
Yes.
And we will
see-
have all of your information. Like,
Yep.
we'll put it in there how people can get in touch
We'll get
with
there,
you.
reach
and
out.
We'll meet you guys soon, hopefully, on
Yay.
one of our little adventure hikes.
Yes.
Come to the
Yes.
community.
Oh,
Thanks,
it'll be
you guys
great.
in a couple weeks.